needs and grievances, or to put it more bluntly, to make this union start functioning like a union. I initiated the recruitment and training sessions for building reps right away, and I have visited schools nearly every day, in part to give my full support to these frontline defenders of the teachers. This is where things start to get interesting, because at every school that I visit, there are teachers looking to take initiatives and raise concerns of their own. These initiatives led to a campaign against tyrant principals, and DFT members rallied at Man, Marquette, and Clark to protest numerous abuses ranging from contract violations to corporal punishment to sexual harassment. The rallies gained the active support of students, parents, and community members, as well as members of other unions who work in DPS buildings. This readiness to take action, combined with the popularity of our demands, has put the district on notice that the degradation of our schools will finally be challenged by the Detroit Federation of Teachers. At Marquette, some of the remedies nearly preceded the formal grievance procedure, as the district fixed the leaking roof and assigned an extra teacher to reduce class size on the same day that we rallied there. Other grievance battles will go through a more protracted dispute, but for each and every case, our possibility of achieving victory is determined by our overall ability to mobilize our members and our community. Governor Snyder and Emergency Manager Early have kept a close watch on our progress, and for the past 2 months, they have chosen the safe option of staying relatively quiet and keeping their work behind closed doors. That is about to change, and a new period of struggle over the future of Detroit schools is beginning now. For many years, the attack on our schools has relied upon every important institution, including our union, simply going along with the attack and never actually criticizing it for what it is. Virtually every political leadership, liberal and conservative, recites with the exact same script, from the exact same script, with words like education reform and financial solvency. Now is our chance to break the silence. The fact is, there is no such thing as educational reform going on in Detroit. And the financial matters are only getting worse. The Snyder schools, otherwise known as EAA, do not even deserve to be called schools. There has been a plan to save the education of Detroit students. There has never been a plan to save the education of Detroit students. There has only been a plan to destroy public education, to steal from our children, to drive families out of their homes and out of their city, and to put the spoil in the pockets of rich people. That is all that has happened in practice. And yet somehow, every major institution has lined up to declare that this rampant destruction is all part of a plan to achieve the exact opposite of what's really going on. But the emperor has no clothes. All of the nobles only tell him how well he dresses. This is the shameful disgrace. The shameful disgrace of compliance that has been required to allow rich businessmen to steal from the education of poor children. It is the plainest form of evil, and because they can never justify it, they must pretend they are doing something else, and must either bribe or threaten all other powers into acquiescence. For these reasons, I must make the following full disclosure. To all our members, we are about to witness some of the most peculiar deceptions, bribes, and threats that we have ever seen. But the enemies of public education are going to witness exactly what they have sought to avoid. Teachers, students, and community members standing up against them. When this membership decided to stand up, the chains of conformity were broken, and Snyder and Early have been discussing ever since then how to repair those chains and restore submission. Early has invited me, along with my attorney, Shanta Driver, to meet with him and his attorney in just over 2 weeks from today on Wednesday, April 15th. He will come to that meeting with an agenda that has been prepared behind closed doors. I will come to that meeting with the agenda that this membership voted on 2 months ago and distributed publicly. He will come to that meeting likely hoping to exploit the weakness of one man. But I do not intend to walk into that meeting as only one man. My responsibility is to represent the needs and interests of thousands. My responsibility is to represent you, and I am turning to your strength in order to make clear to Snyder and Early in terms that they can understand that this will not be another year in which they can press their agenda with impunity. There are some very predictable scenarios that could play out, one of which is the routine that Keith Johnson choreographed for years. In that routine, the EM presents 2 options. The first is some sort of doomsday plan, which in this case could be just about anything from refusal to recognize the union to the complete liquidation of public schools in Detroit. The second option is a set of cutbacks and further degradations to the schools, which do not sound quite as severe as the doomsday plan. Traditionally, the EM and Keith Johnson would conspire on how to browbeat the membership into accepting the second option, for the sole reason that it is the lesser of 2 evils. In reality, there was only one overall plan to begin with, and the EM was simply finding the path of least resistance in order to get there. Keith Johnson loyally provided the path of no resistance and helped the EM determine which cutbacks could be forced upon the members each year. In his meeting with me, I expect the EM to present some version of a doomsday plan. And given the invitation of lawyers, probably including legal threats, hoping that I will offer up some concessions and cutbacks that I would accept as a softer alternative. But I refuse to play that game. We have no reason to cooperate in the destruction of our union and our public school system and then pat ourselves on the back, imagining that we just saved ourselves from something worse. No, the something worse, quote, is always just around the corner, and the point of their whole charade is to get us to agree to it one piece at a time. I offer the following strategic rules for engaging in this situation. Rule 1, we stand by our demands, and we cannot achieve them. It must not be because we have abandoned them. Rule 2, we seek to win our demands on the basis of our own strength as a union and a community, not because we have caved in to the supposed strength of our opponents and conceded to something worse in exchange. Rule 3, there can be no backroom deals against the membership. The members must be in control. The members must be in control of their own destiny, in control of their own leaders, and must not be blindfolded. And Rule 4, never trust the words or good intentions of the attackers of public education. We must rely on our own experience is no progress. We have been told for too long that the smarter choice is to, quote, go along to get along. That if we simply concede to the attacks against us, then we will not suffer as badly. We have been told for too long that we must abandon our principles of reason and justice, and that we must replace them with a three-point program of doggy logic. Lay down, roll over, play dead. But no matter how dire a situation may be, you can never convince all of humankind that the logic of giving up is superior to the logic of standing up. We have a great deal to accomplish over the coming weeks and months, and I would like to turn to those tasks now, so that we can continue our democratic discussion and voting that should form the basis of how our union makes the decision. I want to thank all our members for the work and the input you have given since our last mass meeting, and I hope that today's meeting can be just as fruitful and productive. I believe that these kinds of teacher mobilizations will be the best means of rebuilding our union. Our last meeting put us back on our feet. Now let us proceed to march ahead and together. I know that we will find a way.